Alrighty, hello, good evening. Welcome to the CREEDCAST. This is your squad show for the week. It is Thursday, the 9th of October. I'm here recording on Thursday evening. Still rolling solo. Jamie is still enjoying his podcast paternity leave, though. As I can absolutely tell you that I've got two voice notes so that we get to hear from Jamie still on the podcast tonight while he can't be here live recording with me. He sent me through 25 minutes worth of voice notes to play on the pod, so you will hear a couple of one shorter one and one longer one of Jamie chatting. One of them of which I'll play soon, as I discussed Pride round coming up, which I'm pointing for those watching on YouTube, pointing at the Pride Guernsey behind me right now. A great thing that the AFLW does very, very well. AFL men's could learn a thing or two. So he's got some thoughts on that. I haven't listened to either of these voice notes either, so it kind of will give that feel of that I am listening to Jamie for the first time on the podcast. But yeah, and then in the Patreon part of the pod later on, we'll have a little bit of a chat about just it's trade season, trade week, trade radio, all that bullshit that the modern AFL has cooked up. It's part of the landscape now, but it is annoying when one of your players that shouldn't be in the discussion is just constantly in there, whether it's the Victorian-centric media or whatnot. So we'll chat about that in the Patreon aspect of the show in a little bit here after we've done the preview of this weekend's game for our AFLW side up in Brisbane. Yes, they are playing up in Brisbane this weekend. It is a game, it's a tough matchup to be sure. 4:35 p.m. Aberdeen Standard Local, that weird area of the year we're in now where we are ahead of Brisbane. So if you're up in Brisbane, it's just after 4 o'clock the game start, I think. But yes, we are playing up in Brisbane this Saturday. What's looking like a very, very hot day out there as well. I did talk about it on the podcast on Tuesday when I just had a brief look forward to the game this weekend as to what the weather might look like. And I'm actually just going to have a quick Google now to see that anything hasn't changed. But basically when I was looking at it on Tuesday evening, it is late and I've had a long work day. You might get slightly unhinged Dave on the podcast tonight. But yeah, we're looking at possible showers, storms, 0 to 1 mil, so not a whole lot of precipitation around, probably enough moisture in the air to make it a little bit thick and heavy. Medium chance of showers in the afternoon and evening, so that's right in the wheelhouse of when we're playing. Chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon and evening, again, right in the wheelhouse of when our game is. Light winds, so not too much wind to speak of, but the possibility of some stormy kind of weather around, along with 37-degree temperatures, makes for a challenging landscape for this game right from the off before we even talk about the sides that they are. So that's kind of a real challenge for us right there before we even talk about the fact that the Brisbane Lions have been one of the class sides of the competition. Across the competition's history, really, they've played off for the last couple of premierships. They obviously won one a couple of years ago. Then they played off with it against, it's like been them and North Melbourne for the last couple of years. They beat the Crows a few years back in the grand final. I think they probably lost the Crows at some point as well, if I'm trying to remember my grand final history in the AFLW correctly. They've played off for a few grand finals is the main point here, and they've won themselves a couple along the journey. So they're a highly, highly successful side, a lot of history in the AFLW already throughout its 10-year time. And they're having a good year this year as well. It's an interesting year for the AFLW because it is a year in which we kind of just look at it being Kangaroos and then who's going to be up and about to give them at least a challenge on grand final day. But we're kind of like looking at it like, if the Kangaroos can stay fit, it's going to take kind of the almighty effort to topple them. And, Brisbane are sitting right in the kind of the hustle and bustle of the top 8 at the moment. Sitting in 5th with 5 wins, 3 losses, sitting in a bunch of teams. They're in 5th with 5 wins, 3 losses, and then you've got St Kilda in 8th with 5 wins and 3 losses. It's just a matter of percentage. Brisbane's percentage being quite healthy, actually. The third best percentage in the league, behind obviously the Kangaroos with a whopping percentage of 329. Melbourne are sitting there with 277, and then which is a team we've beaten, by the way, this year. So it's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind as we talk about this one. And then Brisbane are sitting down with a percentage of 153, which is a better percentage than two teams above them, but they have obviously lost a couple of close ones to put them right in the mix. And so they're a team that's sitting there in fifth, but they're only one game ahead of Sydney in ninth, 2 games ahead of Geelong, and the likes of us as well. But healthy percentage, as we know across AFL history, a very, very healthy percentage can be worth half a win, basically, because it does give you that kind of seeding potential. So Brisbane are sitting in a decent spot this year on the ladder, but they're going to be looking to they want to look to try and get into that top 4 battle. They're only 1 game behind Carlton in fourth, and like I said, they've got the percentage that if they can start matching it with the Carltons and Hawthorns, they will get themselves into the top 4 discussion above them. And their wins this year have been against sides. Their losses, have been North Melbourne, Carlton, who are above them, and Hawthorn. They lost in round 1. They lost to Hawthorn by 4 points. They lost to Carlton by 14 points, and their one big loss of the year has come against the Kangaroos. So Brisbane, while they're sitting there with 3 losses on the year, their 3 losses have been to teams that are all sitting above them in the top 4, and 2 of them relatively close matches. That Hawthorn one being within a goal, Carlton being a couple of goals, and obviously the Kangaroos being kind of the one that did comfortably get the job done. And interestingly, for the Kangaroos match, that was in a Brisbane home game as well. So the Kangaroos are able to go away to Brisbane and get a comfortable result. So the Kangaroos are the benchmark here, ladies and gentlemen. I guess as a side note, there's been a lot of talk on Port socials about what the expectation for our team was this year. Should we have been, trying to get to semi-final? Like, where was it? I would have loved to have gone on a deep run in finals again, but I think we tried to temper expectation by just stating that we think we slightly overachieved last year. We want to just keep going, but we are still a team in very, very, very young, very raw, developing team. Just my hope was we'd get back into the finals in that lower rung and just call ourselves a finals team again. It's looking unlikely at this stage based on the run we've got home. We've got to play Brisbane. We've got to play Hawthorn. We've got to play GWS, and I'm forgetting who the other team is we've got to play. Oh, fucking Adelaide. So 3 of our next 4 games are against teams looking like they're going to be playing finals. One of them being Brisbane this week, then Hawthorn next week, which is our last Albert and Oval games. So get around that. I'm going to be, if anyone, by the way, is listening and wants just tickets and they don't have tickets or a membership, let me know. I'm getting a hernia surgery mid next week, so I'm probably not going to be able to get down there, which I'm really quite devastated about. But let me know. I'll get you tickets, and if by some miracle I can get there, I'll just fucking buy myself a ticket. But reach out to me. I'll hand you. I've got probably 3 tickets to give away for that. So just get in touch. That's versus Hawthorn that we have next week at Albert and Oval on Friday night. That's neither here nor there for this week, but I just wanted to get that out there now. Start pushing that. If anyone wants them, get in touch with me. First in, first serve. But yeah, we've got a tough run coming up. Obviously starting with Brisbane. What I will say about Brisbane is looking through the stats. So I was just talking about the squads briefly. As I just bounce back and forth, I told you slightly unhinged tonight. I've worked 8 days straight so far, and I've got another 4 or 5 days straight to go. So I am losing my fucking mind. But we are going to this week with 2 changes. So Abby Darrick pulled up with some, I believe it was, just scrolling back up, some quad soreness that she got during the round 8 clash with the Bulldogs, which, as we talked about in the review on the weekend, she had an epic period of play when we took over that game, that she just was dominant, like 13 disposals, contested possessions, clearances, score involvements, all just was involved in everything. So she can be forgiven for having developed some soreness during that game, because she was Abby everywhere in that period of play where we took over that game. So she's out, which is a massive, massive out. It can't be stated enough just how important she is to the side. I've been saying all year I still wanted to take a little bit of a step up, but that doesn't mean she's not already at a very, very good level for us. I just want her to take a step up because I think she's got it in her. So yeah, she's a massive miss for this weekend. And Kirsty Lamb developed some calf tightness at training this week. So that's also, she came in last week for Piper Window, who was a late out. But, we still, Lamb was provided, I think Jamie put into one of his voice notes on the last show, just the kind of seniority and maturity that she added to the side, particularly in that stretch run in the second half that we got ourselves ahead. The likes of Kirsty Lamb are really important in those leadership windows. So a couple of big losses there. We do bring in some very, very good help for the side for those two that are going out. Piper Window, obviously, they laid out last week. She's in, so hopefully that ankle soreness that she was out with last week, which it's a little bit concerning that she's just battling that. It seems like it's just going to be her year is going to be a little bit of a battle with that, but hopefully she's good to go this weekend because we can really use her to kind of some of that contested stuff, clearance, in and under stuff that Abby Darrick and Kirsty Lamb can both do, that Piper Window can do a bit of, and she's certainly growing at an exponential rate in rounding out her game as well as we go on. And Alyssa Brooke comes in as well. She's obviously going to be really helpful. She's I think got a good amount of talent and has been quite handy and was probably a little bit unlucky. Like she's I can understand why she can only fit so many people into a side, so she got dropped in the last couple of weeks. Once we got back to a level of fitness in this side, but she's certainly such a good talent, and I think as Jamie said, I think she kind of will allow the likes of Ella Heads to maybe play up the field a little bit when she's on as well, and Ella's certainly providing a lot of good help upfield as well. So there's some players we can move around and do some stuff with the likes of Alyssa Brooke coming in as well as Piper Window. Interestingly, just looking at how our squads have been named, obviously nothing gets taken much out of these. The way the squads are named, but you've got the likes of, and it was interesting watching the start of last week's game. You've got the likes of Brooksby playing further upfield, starting on the wing last week. Lily Patterson and Shanae Goody have been named the starting followers. Again, who knows how this stuff actually shakes out on game day, but I always just find it interesting where players are leaning as far as how the squads are named. And you can just see how we're starting to move the magnets a little bit with some of these players as they develop, as they get more experience in their game, starting to kind of utilize their talents in different parts of the field. Really intrigued as to how, particularly taking such a big centerpiece out of the side that's been such Abby Darrick's just been such a key part of this side for so long now. And just has been, a constant. She hasn't missed much time due to injury or anything like that from my memory. She just always seems to be there. It will be interesting to see how this side, and it's a good opportunity for this side again in another learning capacity against a very, very good side in Brisbane to kind of work out some things, some players are going to have to take on some roles that they haven't previously to make up those numbers, the contested numbers, the clearance numbers that Abby can be involved in. There's other players that are going to have to step up to the plate in that vein. We look at the likes of Shanae Goody, who Jamie and I have looked at often, and we really want to get her more involved as she develops in her game, to be more involved because she's such a good ball. We see her as such a good ball user. She's got a great footy mind. We want to see her around the ball and on the ball more and more as she develops. Obviously, still very young. That's going to come with time still, but this is a good opportunity for her. The same, Lily Patterson being named as a follower is really intriguing. I think she's shown a lot of good stuff in her early weeks, and Jamie was certainly right onto her as keying in on some of the good things she was doing. Likes of Piper Window as well, and just the rest of these girls, and Ash Woodland playing a little bit more on ball this year. There's different mixes we can utilize here and see what we can unlock with Abby missing. Again, it's a lot more of a challenge with Abby missing, but there is opportunity that this stuff, trials and tribulations always in footy always breed opportunity if you kind of look at it the right way. And I think that's something we should really be looking at with this side this week. There's a lot of opportunity here, and despite the fact that it is unfortunate that we're missing a couple of one in particular in Abby Darrick, but a couple of good players that we would love to have out there. When our season is still on the line, there is an opportunity to play finals still in front of us. Even if we don't expect to be doing much in finals, but we're missing these girls. But I think there's some opportunities here as well to to find some things out about ourselves and our young team. We'll just have a quick look at some of the stats with this side, but between these sides this year. I find it quite intriguing looking at there's only two real main stats that show a massive difference in these sides. Like if we look at contested possession, we're +3 on them for the year. Stoppage is very, very similar. We average 25.8, they average 24. Similar numbers from center and stoppage clearances. Hit outs very similar. Again, we just average 1.3 for the year more than they do. Disposal efficiency inside 50, very, very similar. Disposal efficiency, always an area that teams have got the wood on us. It's +5% so 60 versus 55. Inside 50s, they have 6 more. So there's a few key areas that they have a statistical advantage on the year to us. It's disposals, so 254.9 versus our 217.1. We know that anyone that's been listening to the podcast all year knows that we just don't get nearly as much of the ball as most of our opponents have this year. So there's that. That obviously breeds some disposal efficiency. And then the teams are generally a better ball users than us. Along with what was that plus 37 on the disposals on the year. They also average 10 less turnovers. So when you extrapolate that out by looking at the fact that they actually have more of the ball, 37 more disposals a game, you actually look at it and go, they're actually probably averaging even less turnovers than that. Like we're averaging more turnovers per disposal than they are, which is a concern because if we're +10 in turnovers per game whilst having 37 less disposals, if you averaged, did the math and extrapolated out to being like, okay, what is our disposal number if we have 254? What is our turnover number if we have 250 disposals in a game rather than 217? That's basically where this game's probably won and lost, like any game of football often. But when we look at sides in the AFLW and there's such discrepancies like that, again, unfortunately, just the main thing that I keep, and there's no quick fix to this, it's just experience. And I've been saying it, and people are going to be listening to this that have listened all year. I mean, like, he's doing this, he's doing that. There's nothing there's no manufacturing age and experience, and that's just it. It's just understanding just better ball use. And it might just be that some of these players at some point will work out that they're not going to improve on their ball use, but a lot of them are still young players, and we can still hope for some improvement on that front as the years go on. Once a lot of these players like your Brooksbys and your Lauren Youngs and your Shanae Goodies and your Germax and your Borgs and Symes, Ella Heads, and then once they're got 2 or 3 more years on them and they've continued to improve, their disposal efficiency should go up based on the fact that they're already just highly talented players, and they do have decent kicks on them, have their moments. It's just a whole entire team structure thing about ball use and understanding where each other are and a lot of those factors. So that's where this game will be won and lost, and where it's likely to be a Brisbane win if we're being objective. I was a little bit surprised seeing Sportsbet have us out of the $4.90 underdog. Brisbane pretty short odds. They also have the line at 20 and a half points. Again, gamble responsibly. We're not sponsored, but I always just like looking at what the favourabilities are, and I just think that's a little bit. Maybe I'm just being fanciful, and I'm a Port fan where it's a Port podcast, so I'm allowed to be a little bit biased. I'd like to think that we can, Brisbane might cover that line. Like they might win by 21 points or more. That's not going to be a surprise, but I'm just in the AFLW. Again, I guess I'm just a little bit. I think we've shown something. I think we've shown enough grunt this year in having some close losses against some decent sides that we can go up and maybe challenge Brisbane, and maybe Brisbane get away at the end. They win by 21 points, but I think we can provide a challenge on the day. Now, Abby Darrick again being out is a concern, and the side will have its work cut out for it. But I do think that we're a better side than a 21-point underdog, I guess, or the line. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we can go up there and provide a challenge, and then if we can be within a goal or two in the last quarter, then you're leaving the window open for a miracle. Like, who knows? The conditions. I don't know if Brisbane have played in many kind of trying conditions, like I've just mentioned at the top end of the pod about what we're going to be dealing with up in Ipswich. But they can't be good conditions for anyone. They're obviously going to be more used to them being based up there. But I still think that if there's some stormy weather around, a little bit of moisture in the air, certainly some heat, and it's going to be a great test for what we've been concerned about all year and our ability to run out games. If we can go up there and run this one out, whether it's win or loss, it'll be a good experience for the girls. And I'm hopeful that we can be competitive in this one, and that's what I'll be looking for: competitive. Figure some things out. Take it to Brisbane. And if we can mitigate those turnover numbers, like if the turnover differential doesn't blow out and it stays about what it is for the year, and maybe even contracts a little bit, if we can generate them some turnovers from them, that'll get us right in the mix. So it's really just going to be about some maybe cleaning up the ball use even more than we have been trying to, and just there's a very, because some of the other numbers, the contested numbers, the tackling numbers, are all pretty similar. Like we're a decent side and statistically match Brisbane in a lot of those areas. It's just going to be about cleanliness of ball use and seeing if we can get a bit more of the ball. Take our marks. The marking numbers are similar between the sides as well. It really is just those turnovers and that turnover differential versus how many disposals you have. So we can kind of contract that number a little bit rather than let it blow out. If that number blows out, then we're probably just, that's where that 21 point, line will come into play. But if we can do some of those things, I have some hope that we can pull off a result here. Last thing on the match, it is Pride round. And I'm going to let is one of the first voice notes, the first voice note for the day, and the one that you will hear from Jamie on the main podcast here. Again, sign up for the Patreon if you want to listen to the Patreon exclusive stuff. That'll be starting in 5 or 10 minutes or so whenever I get done with this portion of the podcast. But we'll hear from Jamie here about the Pride round and his thoughts here, and then I'll finish off as well.
G'day, Creed fam. Jamie here, just popping in again to wish the girls good luck this weekend. Obviously, Dave will be or would have broken it all down for you guys, depending on when I'm being inserted in here. Bit of a blow, obviously, with the 2 outs, but big game for Piper Window and for Alyssa Brooke popping back into the side with a bit of a shuffle around, I would imagine. But obviously, just wanted to express my thoughts on the AFLW Pride Guernsey that we're wearing this year. Love it, obviously, pretty biased. Dave and I really, really, really liked last year's iteration with the lightning bolts formed in ribbons. We only got to see the white Guernsey live, unfortunately. Would have loved to see the black version as well. But look, I think the white one actually made the colours pop a bit more last year. So look, no harm, no foul. Just funnily enough, we played Collingwood in that round, which just furthers the conspiracy theory about Collingwood dictating what we can and cannot wear at our home games. But that's another story. It's all about this year. AFLW Pride Guernsey, very simplistic design, which I am a minimalist personally. Less is more, in my opinion, and sometimes simplicity can be beautiful. And weren't the girls beautiful in the promo shots? And as a proud girl dad, I'm more than confident to say that we've got the most beautiful people both playing for us and coaching, administrating as well. So obviously pretty key portion of the Guernsey, or not a key portion, it's probably quite small in the context of things size-wise, but the little rainbow in the bottom left of the Guernsey, I believe it is, made up of words that the players have all put together to represent their feelings towards pride. I'll list them off quickly: inclusivity, belonging, love, kindness, respect, freedom, and celebration to make up the rainbow on that Guernsey. Couple of words: love and freedom. For me, obviously being a new dad, my heart and my cup is full with love at the moment, thankfully. And look, for anyone who heard my thoughts in regards to the Isaac Rankin sanction, or wet lettuce leaf, as it were, you'll know how deeply I was kind of affected by that as, again, a heterosexual, proudly heterosexual male in a happy relationship with obviously now 2 children. Just rattled purely because of how deeply I care about all walks of life, whether you're from different sexualities, cultures, races, religions, what have you. Love and freedom should be the utmost, it should be the bare minimums that anyone is afforded. And being a father of young children, it is quite interesting to see that we all as kids, all we want to do is love, and be free to do so. Just to extend upon those 2 words in particular for me, if there are anyone, if that's poor English, if there is anyone in the LGBT plus community out there listening to us as part of our community, all I want in life is for you to be happy and free to live your life how you want to. Obviously, the caveat with all of those sentiments, whenever anyone brings them up, is just as long as no one's hurting anyone. Not that anyone's accusing anyone of doing so right now, that's for sure. But the fact of the matter is that we come into this, we only have one life. It's bloody hard at the best of times, and the bare minimum that anyone should be afforded is love and freedom in the world. So just a couple of things that stood out for me in the Pride Guernsey. Like I said, very simple design, an extra chevron with the Progress flag colours emblazoned across it. Don't quite mind it, like I mentioned before, but not really much more to chat about it. It'll obviously be quite popular with those who like to purchase merchandise, purchase Guernseys and these types of things, and they'll probably auction some off. But just to round out, we're probably preaching to the choir for anyone sticking around listening to the podcast lately. Obviously, we're probably all on the same page when it comes to this, but it's always good to keep it in front of mind, particularly this time of the year, when credit to the AFLW being such an inclusive workplace, community, etc., whenever you are met with the dim-witted nature of some people, it's always good to be well-positioned, well-educated, and confident to relay your support for the LGBT plus community when needed. Me getting on a bit of a soapbox now, but like I said, I just care deeply about all walks of life, and I sincerely want everyone just to live as happy, comfortable, and free life as they possibly can, no matter who you are, quite simply. But that's a bit of a tangent by myself. I'll give it back to Dave, either to go on with the podcast or to round out the podcast. So thanks, guys. Love you as always. I'll be continuing with some further thoughts for the Patreon. So for Patreon members, I'll be inserting my thoughts in regards to Zach Butters and tonight's show. And then I'll be back with my votes popping in next week for the review for the AFLW game against Brisbane. So go well, girls. I'll be watching from home, keen for a win. Great challenge, and think we're up to it. So thanks for the support, guys. I'll hand it back to Dave.
Yes, cheers, Jamie, for that. And yes, he will be back with more extensive thoughts on the trade stuff and Zach Butters' name constantly popping up in the news in a few minutes when we get to the Patreon stuff. So, absolutely echo his thoughts on the Guernsey, though. He actually brought in some nice little bits of information about the Guernsey itself. I'm sitting here with the Pride Guernsey from last year behind us, which is the one that Jamie just mentioned. So if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, you can see it. If you're listening, just know that I've got last year's Pride Guernsey hanging up in the scenery behind me in my little studio here. It was interesting to be reminded by Jamie there that we actually didn't get to see the home version of our Pride Guernsey last year because we played the home game that Matilda Scholes took her mark of the year, which is a very nice little bit on the AFL Women's Instagram, by the way, where they asked some players what Pride Round, their favourite member of Pride Round is, and Matilda talked about her girlfriend Abby and wearing the Guernsey that she helped design and taking mark of the year in it. So she had some very, very good memories in that Guernsey. But we didn't get to see this home version of it. So hopefully this year, I mean, Pride Round lasts both this round 9 and round 10. So we get to do so our home game against Hawthorn. Hopefully we will be seeing ourselves in the home version of this year's Pride Guernsey. It is a lot more minimalist one. I would say if I was going to pick a favourite out of the two, last year's is still my favourite. I just love the striking kind of pride coloured lightning bolts through the Guernsey that you can see again if you're watching on YouTube. But I do like also on the minimalist side of things that I love. Well, I'm a big Guernsey and jersey collector of all sorts. So, you know, I've got a closet full of soccer Guernseys from around the world and some hockey and a few Anaheim Ducks ones, which have got varying degrees of extravagance to them. And I also, I went to the University of Oregon, which is heavy. If you know anything about college football, the jersey combinations that Oregon football can do blow some people's minds. So I love all sorts of Guernseys and jerseys around the world. Everything from the minimalist to the extravagance, whatever. I just appreciate whatever they're doing, whatever they're trying to achieve with what they're doing in a design, as long as I can see it. And I love what we've done with this year's, with the chevron and making the pride flag just an extra chevron on there. Is really nice. I also like the back of it above the number panels. It's there as well, and it looks quite striking on the back of the Guernsey as well. So love it. Love the little video packages that Port put out today as well. And just to echo Jamie's thoughts on why we do this, why we have Pride Round, because you do get the absolute gronks on social media that reply to anything Pride related and go, oh, I don't care what anyone does in their fucking bedroom. I just don't want to fucking hear about it. And I did a Southern voice, and you know, I'm sorry to people from the South that do have a modicum of empathy in their lives, but it is people from the South that create a lot of problems over in America and elsewhere. So, I'm being very, very stereotypical, but it is. The reason we need it is because people, whether it be those in same-sex relationships that can't freely feel the ability. Well, it is a world that we thankfully can get more and more. You can be yourselves out in the open. There is still often sideways glances, looks, sniggers, or straight out bigotry directed at you. It's either hidden in plain sight, like people will say, you know, like I said, sniggers behind, you know, covered hands or little comments to each other, little whispers, or there is still examples of out and out bigotry and abuse, and whether it be physical, verbal or physical, it still happens. There is still physical attacks against people for simply being gay, or there is verbal abuse for simply being gay, and that is dehumanizing to people. And then it's not just for those in same-sex relationships, it's those on the gender spectrum, whether they be trans or whatever way they view themselves, their sexuality. People are, you know, if they, you know, dress in a way that expresses it, or, you know, and people again get either physical or verbal abuse, either the snigger behind closed covered hand or something, you know, more outward. All this stuff still happens. That's why we have Pride Round. That's why people go, oh, we don't have, you know, wow, we don't have Street Round. There's a reason we don't have it. It's because myself as a straight man or whatever, I have no problems walking down the street. I can walk down in my Oregon hoodie, and the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to get shit from a Husky fan for being like an Oregon fan. But I can take the hoodie off and I'm fine. People who have an identity that they want to be want to truly express and be themselves feel that they have to hide it, or if they show it, that they might be subject to abuse, and it's a very real fear. And that's why we have to do this. Pride Round has to exist until everyone in the LGBTQ plus community can feel safe to go about their lives without a modicum of abuse or anything happening to them. Until that happens, that's why you're going to need Pride Round, and that's why you don't need And people go, oh man, I can't be proud as a straight white man. Well, it's like, well, you are. You do just get to exist and don't have to worry about anything apart from a lot of self-inflicted wounds that probably, if you have that thought, then a lot of your problems are probably just your fault because you live in a very narrow world, and often that's what happens to people that think that way. But for those of us out there that are supportive, we just for those of anyone in that community, we are very, very supportive of both Pride Round and just Pride initiatives in general, and your wants and needs to live your life as authentically as you want to, need to, and deserve to. We're very, very supportive of that. So yeah, Jamie's words echoed here, and certainly, absolutely supportive of all of any Pride initiative, and I love that the AFLW does such a good job of it. And again, I think the AFL men's could learn a thing or two. It needs to be more out there in the AFL men's world as well to push away some of those unfortunate fringe kind of ideas about what pride means. We need to push them more. The AFL men's could use a little bit more of education in that space, not just for what we've seen on the players front, but just the fan bases and the things that get said out there as well. So, yeah, thank you to Jamie for popping that through. Also noted at the end there that he did say he was going to be watching the girl. Obviously, you would be watching the girls, but he seems pretty hopeful and confident of hopefully some kind of result that we could get. I absolutely echo his thoughts there. Like I said, it'll be a tough game. This is a very, very tough game for us to go up and play, but I think we're a chance, and I think that's a good place to be, going up to face a very, very good side in the Brisbane Lions. So, yeah, that covers it for this part of the podcast. Again, it will be continuing on the Patreon. So if you're not on the Patreon and want to get on there, the patreon.com/the Creed1870. Get on there. It'll be in the show notes for you. And then when you go to the Patreon feed, and you can link your Patreon feed to if you have a Spotify account, you can link your Spotify to your Patreon so that the Patreon episodes show up in your Spotify as well automatically, and it will be the full Patreon episode for you. The show notes on Patreon as well will state when the Patreon exclusive stuff starts. So if you listen to half of it on the main feed and want to just go to the Patreon and get the rest of it, you can kind of look at the show notes and see where it starts and scrub through to the minute and seconds mark that you need to listen to the rest without having to try to figure out where it is. It'll just be there for you to figure out. So, yeah, thank you as always to everyone for listening. Regardless of whether you're jumping to the Patreon or not, we do appreciate the support, the listens every week in the Port community. We love it. So, yeah, nothing more to say. Khan, the fucking pair. Let's go up and let's get a little miracle up in Queensland. That would be nice, wouldn't it, for the weekend? If you're not going on to the Patreon, we'll talk to you next week on the review show.